So, this is something that I've actually been meaning to get off my chest for quite a while now. So, for anybody that actually bothered reading the title, this is a game known as Project Nimbus. This was a game that came out on the PC within May of last 2018, but was recently ported over to the consoles in full in the complete edition just last month on the 30th. Now, there is a lot that I do have to say about this game, but just today I am going to cover one tiny part of it. Now, for all of you that are not familiar with this game, which I imagine is basically everybody watching this video, that being like 2, you may be... This game was criticized heavily for being heavily inspired, dare say even ripped off, of many elements from both the Gundam series, video game and anime, and the Ace Combat series. No, I'm not kidding in that regard. And to that extent, I can completely agree. I'm going to cover those another time. Probably will be making a full-on review about this game at another point. However, for today, I'm just going to be covering one thing, one of the many other things for that matter, that this game does better than even the Ace Combat series. Now, for this particular instance, I'm going to be fighting Colonel Andy, the main boss of Act 2 of this game. Bear in mind, this game came out long before Ace Combat 7. Like I said, May of last year. Ace Combat 7 coming out in January. However, there are definitely some elements that it has that can be relatively comparable to Ace Combat 7. That being this one in particular. Colonel Andy is a lot like Mihaly in plenty of ways. Both of them are squadron leaders of an experimental squadron within a lone country, and they both wield gigantic railguns as their main powerhouse or main weapon within their final boss fight. For Mihaly, it's the EML. For Colonel Andy, it's the particle cannon. Personality-wise, they're similar as well, but I'll save that for another time as well. However, there are many things, and I mean many things, that make Colonel Andy way, way above Mihaly when it comes to both his character and his boss fight. For this particular instance, I'm only going to be covering the boss fight. Now, bear in mind, I tried to do this recording on hard difficulty, and I got my ass fucking kicked. This guy is no joke, so I actually had to tone it down to normal. And as you can see, this is my second attempt trying to do so. So, one of the many criticisms that Mihaly has, both as a character and his boss fight, is, one, his massive amounts of plot armor. 2, is just how easy he actually is, even with said plot armor, that being his invincibility frames, his invincibility frames, his scripted moments of dialogue where he is completely invincible, and many other ones, such as the fact that he can't aim for his life. Now, in this particular instance, while you're going to see a lot of bullet sponging and a lot of just being tanky in general, that's relatively normal for battle mechs in this game. You can take a lot of damage, normal enemies can take a lot of damage, and of course, the boss fights are going to take a lot of damage as well. Now, it does take a little bit for the fight to get started when you have to find out where he comes from, but then that's when the real fight actually begins. Now, I'd like to bear in mind, there is zero, I repeat, absolutely zero forms of plot armor within this boss fight. This guy doesn't talk politics and make himself invincible as a result like a goddamn supervillain like Mihaly. This guy just talks, enjoys the fight, and you have to use your skills to get a grip on him. Now, of course, it may seem rather easy at first because, well, I got a quarter of his health down, but this is where it gets hard. That will kill you in 2 hits on normal, 1 hit on hard. And it's very hard to dodge. It is not extremely telegraphed and easy to dodge like Mihaly's EML is. And once again, there is zero forms of scripted dialogue within this sequence. It will get harder as the boss fight goes on, however, this fight in particular will have you needing to use every single weapon that you possibly have, from your smart missiles in order to finally get guided hits on him, to your funnels to distract your missiles, and of course, your boost in order to evade that. Again, this isn't a perfect boss fight by any means. In fact, it's one of the slower paced ones within the game. However, this is a lot like Mihaly's, but a step up in both combat, in terms of Andy having an actual fucking character to him, but that's for another time, you have to play the story for that. But the thing is that while it may seem a little bit slow-paced, it's far more difficult to constantly try and watch for Andy when he's charging up his particle cannon, and there's zero warning for when it's going to fire. I'm going to boost real quick, and I'm going to keep stepping on the boost. Then I stop, and that's when he fires. He is not telegraphed to fire that. He will not fire that at you when you're boosting and getting a speed advantage as a result. He will fire that when you either run out of boost or when you're just standing still. In order to beat this dude, you have to literally fly still and bait him into using the EML, or particle cannon in this game's instance, and then you have to dodge it, very close mind you, and then you have to just wail on him using other weapons. Now, of course, getting too close to him is practically suicide because of those laser cannons that he has. Now, once again, I'm going to bait him. Now, again, this may seem easy from the way I'm doing it, but bear in mind, this is on normal difficulty. It's far more difficult on hard, while Mihaly's a pushover on every difficulty, even on ace. But of course, once again, even if this is a relatively easy boss fight, there's no plot armor to be had. There's no real issue with how he flies. It's just, you and him are trying their best to keep up with one another. There's no plot armor, just purely skill and trying to use every tactic you've learned. I may try to do a recording of this on hard difficulty just to show, but this can be an absolute pain. Once again, I'm going to bait, and I'm going to dodge. Of course, you want to try to gain distance in order to actually stop him from using his particle cannon at close range, because there's basically no travel time, and as a result, you're going to get killed almost instantly. Can't target that. Now, regarding the development of this game, this was not developed by some big company. This is an indie game with a very small budget by comparison to today's standards, far smaller than Ace Combat 5 and 7 for lack of a better example. And yet, this game manages, even at its weakest moments, to have a better boss fight than even Ace Combat 7. Now, of course, once again, this may not be the best example. I will do a recording of this on hard difficulty just to show you. However, once again, I want to point this out. There's no plot armor, there is no scripting, there is actual strategy to his boss fight, and most importantly, he isn't a fucking cakewalk, and he doesn't speak in order to make himself invincible. Now, of course, the music itself isn't as great, and there isn't as much build-up to this fight as you would expect, although considering how much better he is as a character, I would say that's rather minor. However, I think this is pretty much, as I summed it up in the title of this video, what Mihaly's fight should have been. Of course, it should have been a lot harder, there should have been no scripting, there should be actual strategy involved, and none of his attacks should be obscenely telegraphed. Now, of course, it can be hard to do that when missiles are shown on the radar in this game, and they give you missile locks in Ace Combat 7. However, in this particular instance, while they do still give you missile locks, the EML can be fired at a random interval, and you have to predict where it shoots, as opposed to the radar of the game literally telling you where to go, thus making it a complete cakewalk to actually dodge. Unless, of course, you get too close, and despite the fact that the radar actually points in the other direction, you will still get hit for no reason. Now, of course, some of you may be seeing the dialogue in the top left, however, I did have to lower the volume just a little bit so my voice can be heard. I'll probably keep that in if I ever do a full playthrough of this game. Shit! See? He will wait until you run out of boost in order to shoot, and I almost got skewered. At the health that I currently have, I would have died. Once again, every single thing that Mihaly's boss fight should have been was missed, despite that game having a far higher budget than this one. That Ace Combat 7 was developed by a very big company, admittedly a small team of said company, but they still had plenty of resources as a result to make this, far more than this game ever will, and probably even the sequel, even after how well this game did. All you want to do is just try to be cautious, keep yourself on track, and just be careful of that damn particle cannon. He's probably going to hit me, actually. Shit! There we go. Now, as cheesy as the dialogue actually may be, in my opinion, it's always been gameplay that makes a step above story. Gameplay is what makes this game a game. And in this particular instance, despite the fact that the dialogue may be cheesy, the boss fight itself, while it can be easy on normal, it still serves as a relatively normal boss fight that even a final boss like Mihaly or Hugin and Munin can't achieve. This one actually involves you to think. It involves you to actually utilize everything that you have said. And yes, I know I'm repeating a lot of points that I have said about this boss fight, but once again, this was done by an indie game, and this is a boss fight that's done on normal difficulty. And yet it's leagues better in the Mihaly fight in practically every way. Both story, both in terms of strategy, and in terms of overall fun. If we ever do get a boss fight somewhat similar to Mihaly within the Ace Combat series, one that wields EML, I want it to be as close like this as possible. And once again, I screwed up badly trying to get close here. Close right there. And those railguns ended up nailing me. Apologies for the rather bad commentary, but this is one of my first times actually doing a long-range one. Not like many people are actually going to view this anyway. This is where it's going to get interesting. May actually have to switch to cockpit view so I can get a better aim reticle on him. Got to use everything I can do in order to finally put him down, because the more damage you put into him, the faster his particle cannon reloads. Rather similar, once again, to Mihaly in the fact that the longer the fight goes on, the more accurate he becomes. He's gonna fire soon. I got him right before he shot it. That was pretty cool. A game with not even a quarter as much budget as Ace Combat 7, or even 5 for that matter, ended up having a way better boss fight than the game that came after it. Think about that.